Haruko, please. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there we go. It's my Nintendo Entertainment System. Yeah. You sure made my childhood. Not. Nintendo Entertainment System, also known as Famicom Disk System in Japan. Legendary, amazing console that I never had a chance to own. I lived in Central Asia in the 90s and Japan wasn't exactly distributing stuff here at that point. So we had to make do with a Chinese bootleg called Dandy. That's generally how most of Eastern Europe got to know Super Martin. It was about the same really. Nintendo was pissed when they found out, but it was a bit late to change things. So they just went, oh well, whatever. And that's why I never got NES. But I didn't have Dandy either, I only had the brick Game Boy. That honestly was heavy enough to kick someone's teeth in with, and believe me, in the 90s that's all people were doing. My childhood friend had a Dandy, and that's where I learned about all the Nintendo classics, although PC emulation was also a thing at this point, and of course playing classics on my Game Boy Advance helped. Now I only associate classic Mario games with that. Either way, I wanted to reminisce a bit on what it is that makes me feel so good about NES/Famicom/Donald. Now that I think about it, the elephant on the logo foreshadowed what Mario would become in 35 years. We should have listened. Alright, so what exactly made the NES so good? Well, that's easy. An excellent selection of video games for one. And here's some highlights from my personal memory, both from childhood and adulthood. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. Super Mario Bros., you know, this obscure little series? The 1985 game pretty much made everyone go, damn! That shit good! It still holds up tremendously, and nothing before 1995 really does hold up well. Like, as well. Sorry Donkey Kong and sorry Pac-Man, you guys are not quite there. The music by Koji Kondo is amazing, if a bit derivative, just listen to these comparisons. You could argue that this is plagiarism, but look. This is my original character now. That's with a mic. Even then, Super Mario pretty much invented satisfying platforming. And come on, everyone knows Mario. That guy cleaned pipes of your mother last night. There's a lot of early installment weirdness going on here. Like, why are Mario's overalls red and shit brown instead of red and shit blue? Literally unplayable. And what's with the brother's name? Luigi only appears in two-player mode? How about just calling it Super Mario? The plot is very simple. You're Mario, you save the princess from the turtle Bow Wow, and they pretty much stick to that formula for the next 35 years, right? Wrong. The structure is immediately broken in Super Mario Bros. 2. A history lesson first. I know you guys probably all know this, but the original Mario 2 was unreleased in Europe and States because it was like too hard and white people can't play video games apparently, so it went unreleased until it got repackaged as Lost Levels on the SNES Trilogy Remake Collection Super Mario All-Stars. And honestly, it should have stayed Lost low-key. What? Just what I think. Look, it's pretty hard and it's interesting and gives it more challenge, but it doesn't innovate enough. Same graphics, same story, same music, even same structure, which is like almost like a mission pack DLC rather than a true sequel. Sure hope that won't happen again. Oh god damn it! Either way, it's alright, nothing special. And I think Nintendo of America recognized that and commissioned a better game from Nintendo of Japan. Nintendo of Japan actually made another game recently called Doki Doki Panic Club, based on a popular TV series, and they were like, wow, we did such a good job, it'd be a waste to waste this game on a licensed title. And that's how my favorite 2D Mario, yeah really, was born. Released in Japan as Super Mario USA and everywhere else as Super Mario Bros. 2, it received good reviews and is a nice departure from the first game. With a lot of neat new ways of platforming, you can even hold objects and dig now. Koji Kondo's music became less derivative at this point and the plot became, weird. No trace of Bowser. This time we fight Watt, the king of Subcon, and we can pick anyone from the cast of 4 characters: Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach and Toad. It's nice that they made Peach playable. She won't be for the next 15 to 20 years though. Luigi can do a high jump, Toad is slightly faster, Peach can float for some seconds, making her the easy mode of the game. And Mario is a master of none, just a well-rounded character overall stats-wise. I always play as Peach because I'm a lazy bastard, but the game becomes a breeze, and honestly, they're all great except for Toad. Fuck you, Toad. In the end, it turns out it was all a dream, but characters from this game appear in future titles. Like Shy Guy or Birdo. You could argue it makes no sense, but the Satellaview sequel established Subcon as a real place, so I think that... Next we go to Super Mario Bros. 3. I first played it on Game Boy, and I was watching Happy Tree Friends for the first time on the background, so I think this game will forever be associated with a dead anteater, but it's a great game nonetheless, despite the trauma. I've got nothing to say honestly, it kinda goes back to its roots and the plot again becomes super simple, but now we have a world map and a lot more levels, some incredible graphics for the NES, and a very interesting music direction by Mr. Kondo inspired by something Jamaican, at least I assume. No, not weed. Personally though, I didn't really care for that one that much compared to previous two, no idea why, it just is what it is. Finally we can stop talking about Mario now. Here's a fun one for you. Filthy Yankees don't know about this, but Battle City on Famicom is a good game. It's regarded as a gaming classic by most aging Russians and Kazakhs like me, so it was a gigantic culture shock for me to find out that no one in the Anglosphere cares about Battle City. It's a game where you're a tank and have to protect this peculiarly shaped statue. You have a limited amount of lives, but they all go away instantly and you get a game over if your statue gets destroyed first. If only real wars were that simple. Imagine if someone smashed a giant brick onto Statue of Liberty and suddenly US is now owned by Jim the Bricklayer. Childhood memories are cool, but the one I really got into in my late teens was Metroid on the NES, which I emulated on my phone at the time. It was like 2011, I would like to imagine I was ahead of the curve. Either way, Metroid is really cool. You walk and walk and walk through the same rooms, and it's really easy to get lost and easy to die, but in this game's kinda bollocks actually. For its time it was revolutionary, but nowadays it's impossible to play without a guide or drawing a map or something. Nevertheless, it's not a bad game. I'm just not that good of a player. They did get into Metroid anyway, because the impression was overall more positive than not. Also, probably the first and most important Nintendo female character was like from this game, and she wasn't even advertised as such, people just thought she's a robot, but if you beat the game fast enough she removes her helmet and you can see that you've been bamboozled into playing as a girl and now your reputation is ruined forever. Hahaha. The music in this game is amazing by the way, and it's definitely one of the more serious and complex game franchises Nintendo has, so I'm glad it exists, and this is definitely a landmark title just for its historical importance, which is something it has in common with Legend of Zelda. Yeah, nice segue, isn't it? It was fine, definitely rough around the edges, hard to beat without a map, has a punishing difficulty, and overall is very much a bit confusing. I think Miyamoto, who directed the first Zelda game, once mentioned that he intended it to be made like a choose-your-own-adventure kind of game, to invoke a childlike exploration sense in the player, like you can beat the game technically, but you don't necessarily need to. And after hearing that I can only say sweet! The music by Koji Kondo, like, do they have any other composers? The music by Koji Kondo was great as always and very iconic. It's definitely not a bad game, but it aged pretty whatever. Still I can see myself revisiting it someday. There was a similar but a much better game released only in Japan called The Mysterious Murasame Castle, where you have to slash through the hordes of ninjas as Samurai Takamaru. And it's sort of like a 2D Dynasty Warriors game, which is a good thing because 2D space complements it a lot. The music is as usual fantastic, and the plot is, it's there, but it kinda failed to grasp it. And who cares honestly, it's just a good game. Fun fact, Murasame Castle was the very first video game adapted to live action, and another fun fact is I and Haruko uncovered it from being lost media, link in the description, yes I'm shameless. Imagine if Murasame Castle was a franchise instead of Zelda, what a weird timeline that would be. Instead we got Zelda 2, which was not a bad game necessarily, but not a good game either. The game decided to become a side-scroller RPG for some reason, and while it's an admirable effort, the difficulty curve is ridiculous. The game over screen might give someone a seizure. This adventure is really good, I highly recommend it. It's maybe one of the best NES games, I love it to bits, you guys. Basically, in this game you play as this little pink fuck, but... By the way, Kid is a special guest today. Say hello. Don't be shy. He was made to me by my partner. I think he's the best. This is like the best present I've ever received. Just kidding. This is. So yeah, I don't actually know what to say about this game that other people haven't said. Just really good and fun and maybe a little too easy. This thing is amazing. It doesn't exactly make for a good video material though. So let's talk about shit. Charlie's Circus, a long forgotten NES game I had on my den rough that I didn't really enjoy. It's very boring and clunky, and even high score challenges with the friends doesn't bring you that much satisfaction. Knowing song too. Sorry Charlie fans, I hope all two of you can forgive me. NES also has a whole slew of JRPGs, so let's talk about them. Cause I'm a I'm actually kind of into that. Dragon Quest I is a landmark title that started one of the best and longest running RPG series of all time. And it still remains one of the two I've played. In the series. The other one is 11. I guess I just decided to speedrun it. It's really odd, you don't have a party system and you're pretty much on your own, and you'll have to grind slimes and other enemies to increase your level and get stronger. It's quite fun, the plot is pretty damn simple. You have to save the princess from this dragon thingy. The funny part is you can slay the dragon without ever bothering to save the princess. In the ending the king just kinda shrugs and goes, "Oh well, congrats hero, you did it. Who cares about my dead daughter anyway?" Great game. Final Fantasy 1 is the best NES Final Fantasy. They got it wrong with 2 and 3, and is also, 3 is kinda good, but it's not as great as 1 in comparison, at least in my opinion. Final Fantasy was at a stage where it was still pretty much a Dragon Quest ripoff, but it did improve on it quite a bit with its overcomplicated yet simple plot, wonderful music, and introducing black magies to the world, so weird people like me could use it as their profile picture on social media. Earthbound Zero, or Earthbound Beginnings, or Mother 1. I know, confusing. It's an RPG made by Nintendo as a result of collaboration with the famous Japanese guy Shigesato Itoi, who really wanted to make a video game. And Miyamoto said like, sure, go ahead. Funny story, actually, at first Miyamoto kinda vaguely said, I don't know, and Itoi was like, oh, that means he declined my offer, and he cried. So sensitive. Itoi had a hard time with development, and the end result was quirky, interesting, funny, and charming adventure of a boy named Ninten. Because when no one else does Nintendo, it would have been a pretty good game if not for the insane amounts of random encounters every 5 seconds. I'm not exaggerating, that pretty much ruins the entire game for me, are you kidding me? I'll randomly encounter Itoi himself and whoop his ass. Sequel on SNES is great though, and the threequel is even better, but yeah, rough start. You thought we were done talking about Mario, but no, I lied, sorry. You see, before 1985 Nintendo loved showing Mario in random games in hopes he will catch on. Did you know that he is named after a real person who rented Nintendo an office? Maybe it was some sort of a deal for the rent? Either way, he was in Wrecking Crew, which is an okay game, I don't care about it all that much. But Spike Foreman is from there, if you were confused during the movie on who that big guy is. There's Mario Bros, which was a nice arcade game ported to NES and subsequently ported on every Game Boy Advance Mario game. Seriously, Nintendo, we get it, Mario Bros were a thing, calm down. And of course the very first appearance of Mario in 1981's Donkey Kong. I loved this game as a kid, and it was extremely important for American gaming at the time. Basically you have to save the prince, Pauline, Mario's ex-girlfriend, from Donkey Kong, a giant ape. Even Mario is not named Mario here, his name is Jumpman, and he probably got bullied relentlessly in high school for that. The game's success kickstarted the Donkey Kong franchise, which blossomed into maybe my favorite Nintendo franchise of all time. It's that good. Cause they quickly made a sequel, Donkey Kong Jr., which nobody liked that much, and the threequel that wasn't popular at all, killing the series for like 8 years or so. And there was Donkey Kong Jr. Math, the first and last foray of Nintendo into edutainment on NES. I played Duck Hunt on nerdy conventions, cause I never had a gun for D&D. So yeah, it's not great honestly. I don't understand what you guys get from it. Shut the fuck! Castlevania Trilogy is fantastic, I literally just played it like last year and it holds up like a motherfucker. Simon Belmont is a pissed Conan the Barbarian ripoff guy who really wants to kill Dracula, and you just go and kill ghouls and stuff, and yeah. Then the sequel decided to make it a confusing mess and generally needs a guide to go through. It was like a weird Metroidvania, except not good, and fuck this game. Look at the fight with death in the first game, and compare it to the second game. What a joke. At least the story is interesting and gives a conclusion to Simon's story. Developers realized their mistake by third part and made it work, just like the first one, but with a lot of improvements, on top of making it a prequel. For Castlevania 4 they just decided to not bother with the plot and remade one. Crazy move, but the game was good, so who cares. Dr. Mario was my childhood, even though it was on a Game Boy, not on an NES, still they're essentially the same game, so who cares. It's pretty much a ripoff of Tetris, but your goal is to defeat bacteries with colorful pills. Yeah, honestly it's great, but it's amusing to me that Dr. Mario's entire thing is kind of ambiguous. Miyamoto sometimes implied that he is a separate character from Mario and that he is, and I quote, possibly not a real doctor. Very shady guy. Did you know that NES has the best version of Mrs. Pac-Man? It does. It translates the arcade version very well, very faithfully, and even has an ending after level 32 for some reason, which is not present on any other version. It's definitely one of the games of all time. Look, they're fucking off screen, gross. And the ending is implying they had a bunch of kids, but how can the man afford so many kids? The answer is he can't. We only see one kid in the subsequent games. What did you do to the children, you yellow son of a bitch? Ninja Gaiden trilogy is ass hard, but I wouldn't recommend it if you're bad at video games. Like, this is way too much. I am, like, so used to playing it with a rewind feature. I know, it's kind of cheating, but you know, whatever. And Ryu is an endearing character, but the plots of his games are so confusing and weird, sometimes both at the same time, even in the Xbox ones. Still, very good games if you're skilled enough. Same about Battletoads. No. There's no excuse for shit Battletoads does. All Mega Man games on NES are good, because they're, you know, essentially the same game with little tweaks, like differently designed bosses and stuff. The structure, however, is always the same. And that's not a bad thing, don't fix what's not broken, right? Every time they experimented, they did awfully, which leads me to believe that Keiji Inafune is incapable of making any other type of game. In every game, you, Mega Man, have to thwart the evil plans of Dr. Bozo, whose actual name I forgot. It's Dr. Wily. When I was writing it, I forgot that his name is Dr. Wily. And your sister and uncle do nothing. You fight Dr. Doolittle's 8 robots, and then he says, oh man, foiled again, but usually escapes. Mega Man once almost killed him, but pussied out because without subsequent sequels, his only job he would get is at Mega Mart. Wario's Woods is fucking weird. Here's all background, you know, Mario characters like Toad, Birdo, Wario. Here's a game with them, and it's a puzzle game. Huh. And you don't even play as Wario. He's an antagonist, like Donkey Kong, I guess. Birdo helps out sometimes, and yeah, it's good for like 20 levels, and then you get kind of bored of it. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Is probably one of the very few games out there which like can brag about having Mike Tyson's name in the title, and the only good one at that. Punch-Out! Is fun, it has a very interesting boxing mechanic. Mario is a referee. Great music, sometimes somewhat racist characters, but it's okay, they make fun of everyone. Except for Mike himself, because he's, you know, he'd probably punch you for that. The game sold like hotcakes and gave birth to a whole slew of sequels, all of which were successful to some degree, yet the IP is dead in 2024 and nothing makes sense. So that's only scratching the tip of the iceberg, honestly. There's so much more. Excite by Kid Icarus. At least those two. No, but the library is huge and worth seeing and playing. I highly recommend. Some of it even aged very well and still plays great today. And 35 years later, that's a huge achievement. And as you have probably noticed, this NES is an NES Mini, not the original one. And if you can get one of those, that could make your, you know, just buy a Nintendo Online subscription. Or, I don't know, emulate. It's the same thing, but much less expensive. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe, it boosts my ego. Bye!